Welcome to a dark chapter of history, a chapter that revolves around one man, Dr. Henry Howard Holmes. Born in 1861 in the small town of Gilmanton, New Hampshire, Dr. Holmes was not always known by this name. He entered the world as Herman Webster Mudgett. His parents, devout Methodists, could never have imagined the path their son would eventually tread. Even in his early life, Holmes was no ordinary child. He was unusually intelligent, demonstrating a keen intellect and a penchant for problem-solving. But alongside his brilliance, there was a darker trait that began to surface, a manipulative streak that would become a chilling hallmark of his later life. As he grew, Holmes developed a charm that was as captivating as it was deceptive. He had a way with words and an ability to win over people, a trait that would serve his sinister pursuits all too well in the years to come. Holmes's entry into the medical field seemed almost destined. His sharp intellect combined with a cold clinical detachment made him a natural fit. He attended the University of Michigan's Department of Medicine and Surgery, graduating in 1884. His medical knowledge, however, would soon be put to use in ways far removed from healing. In the bustling, thriving city of Chicago, Holmes found his new hunting ground. Here, he would construct a facade as polished as the city's gleaming skyscrapers. He changed his name to Dr. Henry Howard Holmes, casting off his old identity like a snake shedding its skin. He was a respected doctor, a charming gentleman, a pillar of the community. But beneath this polished exterior, an ominous shadow lurked, waiting to unfurl. As we delve deeper into the life of Dr. Holmes, we'll uncover the chilling truth behind one of history's most enigmatic figures. A man whose intelligence and charm hid a monstrous secret, setting the stage for a tale of deception, horror, and cold-blooded murder. In the heart of Chicago, a monstrous creation took shape, the World's Fair Hotel, later ominously known as Holmes's Murder Castle. A structure of terror, the hotel was a labyrinthine construct conceived from the twisted mind of Dr. Holmes himself. It was no ordinary edifice. The design was peculiar, filled with trapdoors, hidden staircases, and rooms that seemingly led nowhere. Yet each oddity served a purpose as dark as the building's creator. The construction of the hotel was a spectacle in itself. Workers were hired and fired at a dizzying pace, ensuring no one could fully grasp the building's layout. This was Holmes's design, a masterstroke of malevolent genius. The confusion of the structure was intended, a maze designed to disorient and trap. The purpose of this castle was as chilling as its architectural eccentricities. It was not built for comfort, but for murder. Dr. Holmes used it as a hunting ground, luring in unsuspecting victims, mainly young, naive women drawn to the city's bustling World's Fair. They were entranced by his charm, unaware of the deadly fate that awaited them. Once inside the castle, these women became prey in a deadly game. The castle's labyrinth-like design ensured no escape. The trapdoors, the secret passages, the soundproof rooms, all were tools in Holmes's grisly repertoire. The victims were trapped, their desperate cries for help swallowed by the castle's thick walls. Dr. Holmes was no ordinary killer. He was an artist of death, using the castle as his canvas. Each murder was a performance, a macabre ballet of terror, and he, the conductor of this grim orchestra. The victims were his unwilling performers, their final moments a testament to his perverse creativity. Within these walls, a grim dance of death unfolded, orchestrated by the sinister maestro, Dr. Holmes. Holmes, the doctor-turned-killer, had turned murder into a chilling art. His methods of murder were as diverse as they were horrifying. Holmes's medical background provided him with a sophisticated understanding of anatomy and physiology, which he chillingly applied to his murderous pursuits. One of his preferred methods was asphyxiation. Holmes would seal his victims in airtight rooms fitted with gas lines, allowing him to control their oxygen supply. He would then watch from the shadows as they frantically gasped for air, their life slowly slipping away. Another horrifying method was a secret chute leading directly to the basement. Holmes would trap his victims and then send them careening down the chute, their descent ending in a pit of quicklime, a substance known to accelerate decomposition. But the terror didn't end with the victim's demise. Holmes used his medical knowledge not just for murder, but also for the disposal of the bodies. He had a knack for stripping the flesh off the bones and articulating the skeletons, which he would then sell to medical schools and laboratories. This grim routine became a grisly art form for Holmes. He didn't just kill, he performed a macabre dance of death, using his medical knowledge to turn human bodies into commodities. Yet his victims were not mere objects to him. Each death was a masterpiece, each body a canvas on which Holmes painted his gruesome tableau. He was an artist, and death was his medium. However, his art was not for the appreciation of the world. It was a private exhibition, a haunting display of his power and control, veiled behind the walls of his castle. But like all artists, Holmes had a fatal flaw. His arrogance and belief in his invincibility blinded him to the risks of his actions. He thought he could continue his murderous spree undetected, but he underestimated the dogged determination of those seeking justice. But as with all things shrouded in darkness, the light of justice was about to shine. The intricate web of lies and deceit Holmes had spun was about to unravel. Dr. Henry Howard Holmes, a man known for his charm and intelligence, was not just a murderer. His repertoire of crimes extended far beyond that, involving a series of fraudulent activities and thefts. It was these transgressions that would eventually lead to his capture, and become the catalyst for his downfall. Holmes had a knack for insurance fraud, often faking his own death or setting his businesses on fire to collect the insurance money. He even conned his trusted accomplice Benjamin Petetzel into a life insurance scam. The plan was simple. Petetzel would fake his own death, and they would split the insurance payout. However, Holmes had other intentions. Instead of staging Petetzel's death, he murdered him, claiming the insurance money for himself. But the noose was tightening around Holmes. Insurance companies, suspicious of the circumstances surrounding Petetzel's death, started an investigation. Meanwhile, Holmes had moved on to another scam, attempting to swindle a drugstore owner in Philadelphia. His actions, however, were drawing attention. Holmes's luck finally ran out when a private detective, Frank Geyer, was hired to investigate Petetzel's supposed death. Geyer's relentless pursuit led him to uncover the grim fate of 3 of Petetzel's children, whom Holmes had callously murdered. The discovery of these heinous crimes marked the beginning of the end for Holmes. He was arrested in November of 1894, and his trial began in October of the following year. The media dubbed it the trial of the century. Holmes, ever the showman, reveled in the attention, even confessing to 27 murders, though only 9 could be confirmed. The court found Holmes guilty of murder. His charm and intelligence, once his greatest assets, were rendered useless against the overwhelming evidence. He was sentenced to death and met his end at the gallows in May of 1896. Holmes, the master manipulator, had finally met his match in the face of the law. The curtain was about to fall on the gruesome tale of Dr. Holmes. In a courtroom buzzing with anticipation, Dr. Henry Howard Holmes stood trial, the weight of his dark deeds pressing heavily upon the room. The evidence was overwhelming, the details of his crimes chilling to the bone. The jury didn't need long to deliberate, the verdict was clear: guilty as charged. But the trial was only the beginning of the end. In a shocking twist, Holmes confessed to not just 1, but 27 murders, a number that left the public, already reeling from the revelations of his trial, in utter disbelief. The man they had once known as a charming doctor had been unmasked as a monster. The newspapers were aflame with the details of his confession, the grisly nature of his deeds sending shockwaves through society. In the wake of his confession, the public's reaction was a mix of horror and morbid fascination. The details of his crimes were so macabre, so utterly depraved, that they were almost impossible to comprehend, yet they were captivated by the tale of the man who had built a castle of horrors in their midst. As the year 1896 dawned, Holmes was led to the gallows. His execution was as much a spectacle as his trial had been, with people clamoring to witness the final act of this macabre drama. And as the noose tightened around his neck, the man who had taken so many lives met his own end. Thus ended the grisly saga of Dr. Henry Howard Holmes, a man whose name is etched in the annals of true crime as one of America's first and most notorious serial killers. His legacy, a chilling reminder of the depths to which humanity can sink, continues to haunt us to this day.